Are you able to hear me with these earbuds?
Yeah, I hear you well. Yeah.
Okay, good. So we're at the Mishnah on Mem Gimel Amid Aleph. Mishnah says after after the uh, after the Gemar Din, we came to a final decision on his guilt. We say Matzaloi Schas Patru. We find that he's a reason to pat him. You can let him go free him lav. But then comes down to it. Yatzali Sako. He goes out to get skila. Cruz Yetzel Fanav. And a herald goes in front of him and he says, Ish pliny ben pliny Yetzel Sako. He announces that this person is going to be executed al sha'avar avera plinus because he violated this avera. Pliny Adav, and these are his Adim. Whoever knows this anything to answer, whoever has a reason to be Malamed Schus, should go and say so. Because you're giving everyone a chance. If anyone has any Adus, or someone knows that these Adim are Adim Zaimimim, you should go out. You announce it so that people can come to testify and get this guy off the hook. Amar Abaya. He has to say it's not enough just to say these are the Adim. He has to say it happened on this day and at this time and in this place. In case there's someone who knows where the Adim were, it's not enough to just say who the Adim are because that won't help someone hearing it. You have to hear that the details, that if there are people who are with the Adim someplace else, they'll know exactly when the Adis, where the Adim claimed to be, and when they said the Adis. This next few words, Kruz Yoitza Lefanov in May Karaloi, it sounds like only at this time do they send out people to make announcement, but not from the beginning. But then the Gemara is missing words. It doesn't say, we don't have the rest of the Gemara, so it's can't really make anything out of it. They say there's missing words in the Shas, in our Shas. There was a continuation and a discussion of this that we don't have. Anyone who, so to speak, slaughters his yetzer, his desires, and he confesses to it. It's as if he's mechabed, as if he honors the Rebbeinu Shalom in both worlds. Where do we see this? Zeveach Taida. Taida is from the Shirish, the word of tisvada, of being vidui. So someone who slaughters his yetzer and his misvada, yichavdeneni. He will be mechabed me. And it's used as a set of lashon yichavdeni with one, and it says two nuns to tell you both oilams, both an oilam hazeh and oilam haba. I'm Yeshua ben Lakish. I'm not sure what it means in this context, right? Because it doesn't help someone if he confesses to his averus in oilam hazeh. He's still going to get his einish. For example, if he killed someone, he still gets killed. So I don't know in what sense we say. I guess it's mechaber by Shalom. So, but mechaber, he gets the credit for being mechaber Hashem. He makes a kiddush Hashem in this world. It doesn't excuse him. It doesn't get him off the hook. When the Beis Hamikdash was extant, when a person brought a carbon oila, he got the schar of the oila. Mincha, schar mincha biyada. When he brought a mincha, the schar mincha he got. Avamisha daita shvela, but someone who is humble, malav akasuk ilu hikav kol karbanis kulin. He's treated as if he brought all the karbanis. Shema zivchei elikim ruach nishbara. Someone who has a broken heart, meaning he's humble and he confesses and he says he has what to improve. The Bersham Zivchei Elikim, it uses a Lashon Ravim, he's treated as if he brought all the Kabbanis. In addition, the Rebbeinu Shalom, this is something that's often brought in the Sifrei Musar, that really when a person is mispalal to the Rebbeinu Shalom, after all the averos we do, it's very hard to do all the mitzvahs. We all do averos. So normally we say, Ne'etz Beirech, Meis Hashem, that someone who says a bracha while he's in the midst of doing an avera, the bracha is mos. The Rebbeinu Shalom is disgusted by it. But tefillah, when a person does tshuva and he's misvada and he admits to his faults, then his tefillah is not rejected by the Rebbeinu Shalom. Shenema le nishbar v'nidcha elikim, leiv nishbar v'nidcha elikim loy tevaza. Someone has a broken heart and a humble heart, the Rebbeinu Shalom is not disturbed, he's not buzzy, he's not mavuza from his tefillahs. Zach the Mishnah. When they came to the place of execution, they were only 10 amas away. They told the accused, the man about to be executed, go ahead and confess. This is the way of all people who get the einish of misa, mizvaden, that they confess. Whoever confesses and then gets executed, he gets a chelik olam haba, even though he did obviously the most terrible avera. But if he gets the einish and he confesses, he's going to get a chelik olam haba. Like we find in Achan. So Achan, this is the story of by Yeshua. When he came to Eretz Yisrael, the first city he attacked was Yerichai, and Yeshua gave an instruction to the Yidden that they should not take from the booty from the spoils of war of Yerichai. You should rather give it to the Rebbeinu Shalom or destroy it. I don't remember. But after he gave this instruction, they went into another milchama against Ai, and in Ai, it says, the pasuk says, like 36 people were killed from the Yidden, were killed in that milchama. And Yeshua realized that it was someone must have done an avera. He asked the Rebbeinu Shalom, the Rebbeinu Shalom told him because somebody violated the instructions of not to take from the spoils by the conquest of Yerichai. And as we're going to see in the Gemara, he made a geirel, and it turned out that this was Achan. Achan was the person who took from the spoils, and nobody realized it. And that's why the Yidden had the consequence of that. They had people who were killed by the battle in Ai. Zach the Gemara. So, like we find Yeshua, when Achan was going to be executed for violating the Yeshua's directive, he said, Yeshua said to Achan, please go ahead, give cover to Hashem and confess. Bayan Achan, and Achan responded as Yeshua, it's true, I did do a chait, and he said, this is what I took. I did this chait and that chait. How do we know that this confession resulted in a kapara, in atonement for Achan? What have you ruined, or what have you spoiled? Hashem has spoiled you on this day. You're only spoiled for today. But your olam haba is not spoiled. So we see, because he got the einish of Misa and he confessed, therefore Achan got a kapara, he got atonement. If the person doesn't know what to say, how to confess, they say to him, say, hey misasi kapara kol avoinoisi. You tell him to say that all my death should be an atonement on all my averis. If the person who's about to be killed knows that he's innocent, and he knows that the Eidim are really Eidim Zaymim, and therefore he's not supposed to get the einish that he's getting, Omer, tehei misasi kapara al kol avoinoisi, chutz mi avoin zeh. So I want this to be a kapar and all my avodas except for this one. This one I actually didn't do. They said to him, no, it can't be that person has an option to say this, because then everyone's going to say it. No one's going to want to go down in history as the person who confessed. He's going to get killed either way. He doesn't want to go down, that people are going to remember him as having done this Avera. So they'll all say that I did I want a kapara on all my Averas, but this I didn't do. Therefore, we don't encourage them to say such a lashon, even if they believe they're innocent. The Gemara asks, it says, Yeshua said, I'm sorry, not that part. Yeshua asked Achan to please confess. It sounds like Yeshua asked him as a favor. He asked him to please confess. So why was it a about lashon bakasha? You should have commanded him. You're required to confess. The Gemara says, "B'shash amar Kadosh Baruch Hu Yeshua chata Yisrael." When after the defeat in Ai, Hashem said to Yeshua asked what happened, and Hashem told Yeshua chata Yisrael. Yidden did an avera. Amar l'fan Rebbeinu Shalom, mi chata? Who did it? Amar levi chidilter ani? Am I going to snitch? Rebbeinu said, I'm not the person. You shouldn't ask me to tell you who did the avera. Lech hapel geirolos. Go do a geirol to determine who was the one. Halach v'hipel geirolos. He made a geirol enough of a geirol al Achan. It fell on Achan. Amala Yeshua. Geirol ata ba'alai. So Achan said to Yeshua, how could you find me guilty because of a geirol? Atav Elazar Kain Shnegde Elador Atam. Amani Mapal Alechem Girl Alechad Michem Unaifel. He said, if I'm going to make a girl on you, Achan said this to Yeshua, to you and Elazar HaKayin, the two Gedolei Hadar, to make a girl between the two of you, one of you is going to come out to be Chayiv. So just because the girl came out on me, how does that prove that I'm Chayiv? Someone had to get the girl. Maybe it's someone else. Amaloi Bakasha Mimcha. He asked, so this is why he said no. He said, please don't say this argument. I'm asking you to confess, because if you do so, you're going to cast aspersions on the method of determining things by a gyro. And eventually the Eretz Yisrael is going to be divided up through a lot. That the land was divided up as Geirolis. They gave the Yerusha of everyone got their chelek through a Geirol. So please confess. And that's why Yeshua said no, because he was requesting of Achan in order to consolidate and to prove the validity of Geirolis for the future, to please confess that that the Geirol was accurate. Amar Avina. Ravina says that Yeshua bribed Achan with words. It means he said something that wasn't really true. He says that the Bakash was, please confess, give a confession, and then you'll be potter. So Yeshua made it sound like if Achan would confess, that he would not get the einish of Misa. He didn't say it outright, but he gave the intimation that Achan was going to be able to go free if he confessed. And that's why he confessed. That's why he said, I did the chait. And this is what I did. So I guess it sounds like you can mislead someone to make a confession. In general, I guess this is just for purpose of the confession that he should get a chelik in Eilam Haba. The confession is not what proves that he's chayiv. His confession, a person cannot be moida and therefore get an einish of Mises Bezdin. It's only through Adam. But for the purposes of getting confession, that he should get a a kapara, then you're allowed to fool him. Amar of Asi, Amar of Chanina, Malamed Shamal, Achan B'Shloisha Charamim. Achan was over, he took spoils 3 times when he wasn't supposed to. We know about this time by Yeshua, and the other times when the Yidden fought under Moshe Rabbeinu, he also took Haramim, he took from the spoils when he shouldn't have. It says like this and like this, 2 other times besides the time this time. Chamisha, he did 5. Arba b'Moshe, one is this one that we said with by Yerichai, and then another 4 times by Moshe. Shenema noichi chatasi kazais asisi. It says kazais, ukazais. It says a vav at the beginning of the zais, so that adds 2 more times. That means 4 times. Why was there einish before this? That the Yid, there was no einish, right? The einish really came to the Yidden. That even before Achan was killed, there was einish that they had a defeat by Ai, that they had people who died in the Milchama and Ai. So Rebbe Elazar Reb Shimon says, because until the Yidden went into Eretz Yisrael, they didn't have a concept that there was collective guilt. They weren't yet at that higher level of arvus. When the Yidden in Eretz Yisrael, there's a certain unity that exists amongst the Yidden, and therefore they're more responsible one for another. So therefore, that which one person did that wasn't a public avera was not punished on the whole Klal Yisrael. But after they came into Yisrael, and Achan took from the spoils that he wasn't supposed to, and the Yidden had that closer arvus, then that devolved into a einish on the entire Klal Yisrael. Kitanoi. It's like a machlokes tanoim. Hanistaris l'Hashem Elokeinu, v'halignois lanu ulvanenu. It says those hidden averis, the Rebbeinu Shalom. That's only up to Rebbeinu Shalom. There's no einish to the Yidden for the others. V'haniglois, but the public skin lanu ulvanenu adoilam. That everyone gets punished if the Yidden are being over averis begoli and nobody does anything about it. That the entire Klal Yisrael has to suffer. Why is there a nakuda, a dot on top of the words lanu ulevanenu and on top of the ayin in the word ad? It's coming to tell you that the Yidden would not, like we just said, that this din that they get punished on Nistaris was only after the Yidden went into Eretz Yisrael. Rashi has an explanation of how these words mean that. That means they could, it says, Lanu Levanenu is talking about the open Averis. But because we have it, and it said, but it also could be referring, it could be going back on the whole pasuk, and then it's Taurus. So we understand that to mean, because there's the dots tell us that it's not just going on the Lanu Levanenu. The Lanu Levanenu, that there's an einish, is not just on the niglis, but also on the nistaris. And the ayin tells you that it's from that point on, from the time of when this pasuk was said, which was when the Yidden went into Eretz Yisrael. It means from that point and on, there's going to be a punishment also for the nistaris Lanu Levanenu that's going to impact everyone. Div Rabbi Yehuda. This is the words of Rabbi Yehuda. Are people always going to be punished for the Nistaris? Did they ever get punished for Nistaris? Something that a single Yid did that they weren't aware of? But like Farnema ad oilam. It says ad oilam. That the Torah says that there's no einish for Klal Yisrael ad oilam for the Nistaris. Rather, you have to say, just like they're not getting punished on the hidden things, they're also not being punished even on the gully. This is the exact opposite. That the open sins, the open averis, were not punished until the Yidden came into Eretz Yisrael. Perfecting my time Why were the Yidden punished taka by Achan if we're saying, if it was a hidden thing and we're saying that the Yidden never got punished on it, the Gemara says because it wasn't really hidden. His family knew that he came home from the battle with a bunch of stuff. So that when Yeshua asked the Rabbeinu Shalom, why would the Yidden lose the Milchama? And Rabbeinu Shalom answered that the Yidden did not Avera Shechat Yisrael, who Amar Rab Abba Hainu Damri Inchi Asa the Koi Beini Chilfi Asa Shmei Asa Karole, that a hadas, an asa is a hadasim that is amongst the arabas. Hadasim are more valuable. That I'm sorry, I skipped the word. I skipped the Rav Abba Yisrael. Rav Abba says that the reason why it's Chot Yisrael, I skipped the line by mistake. That the Yidden, even though they did a chait, they're still called Yisrael, Chot Yisrael. And Amar Rav Abba, that's what people say, that a hadasim, even when it's amongst the aravas, it's still called a hadas. Hadas is more valuable, but even if it's mixed in amongst lesser things, it still remains more chashav, more distinguished. So too the Yidden, even when they do a chait, they still remain Yisrael, the chosen nation. The Gemara says, "The gam avru espisha atzevitzi oisam, gam lachu min acherim gam gamvu." That it says about the Achan that he was over on the bris that I commanded. He took from that which was condemned, and he stole, and he kachshu. He also denied. Shalmu b'kaleim. He put what he took into his kalim. Amar b'iloi mishum Rav Yehuda bar Nasparta malamet she'avar Achan al chamisha chumshei Torah. It was over on all 5 chumashim in Torah. It says gam 5 times to tell you that he was over on every Aveira. He tried to hide that he had a bris by pulling over his arla, what was left of his arla, to cover his Eva. Since here that he was over on the bris, he denied the bris. That's not Pshita. He's saying he denied the bris, but it says before that he was over on all 5 Chumshei Torah, so he was over on everything. So why wouldn't I think this is included? Now the tema mitzvah gufe eloi pocket. Maybe a mitzvah of his guf, even when the yid is very far away, a mitzvah that he has in his guf, the mitzvah of bris, is very hard. Yidden don't often give it up. So maybe even if he was over on all 5 chamashim, this he wasn't over. Chamash malan. He did a Naval and Yidden he was born on a woman, a Kadesh's woman. It says about Achan Asa Navala, and you have the same lashon of Asa Navala about a Naira Mirasa. We said already he was over and everything. Naira Mirasa is a terrible Avera. He's answering her to her brand new husband. He's doing a terrible Avera. Maybe that far he didn't go. Kamashmala. Ravina Amadina Kanaira Mirasa. He gets all it means to say is he gets the same din of Naira Mirasa to Beskila. He gets skila. Amali Reish Kalus Rav Huna. The Reish Kalus said Rav Huna. Seva Yikach Yeshua es Achin ben Zerach Vesakasav. Yeshua took this Achin, and he took all of what he stole, what he took unlawfully. He took the silver, the silver, Esaderes, and the fine clothing, Veslushain Azav, and the chunks of gold, Vesbanav, Vesmnoisav, and his sons and his daughters, Vesshairai, and his Chamerai, and his ox and his donkeys, Vessoine, and his sheep, Vesayaloi, and his tents, Veskolashali, and all that he had. And the pasuk says that, as we're going to see, he burnt it and he stoned it. How could he punish his sons and daughters, even though we said before that they knew about what he had done? That's not enough for them to get killed over. He says he could ask a better question. He said, the end of the pasuk says V'chol Yisrael Imai. He took out all of these things and the whole Klal Yisrael. Eller Dyson. He brought them all out in order to admonish them, to chastise them, to say you have to be careful to follow my instructions. His sons and children were brought also to make them, to intimidate them, to make them fear, to do them, to not do averes. It says they got burnt and they got stoned. The tarti, they got both of these einshin aravina. That which is appropriate to get burnt was burnt, and that which is appropriate to get stoned was stoned. Meaning, the inanimate things, the chafetz and the metaltalin, got burnt, and the animals, the living things, got stoned. The era b'shlal aderes shinar, and I saw in the spoils of aderes shinar, of the fine clothing from Bavel, achas toiva, shinar achas toiva, one very nice one, umasayim shkalim kesef, and 200 shkalim of kesef. Rav Amar, it's still a demilsa. It was a kind of fine woolen clothing. Shmuel Amar, sarbala de trifa. It's a certain type of coat that was tzaref. Rashi says it was dyed something called alam. I don't know what that is. By Yitzikum l'fnei Hashem, and he cast it down in front of Hashem. Rav Nachman ba v'chavtam l'fnei hamakam. Yeshua took it and threw it in front of the Barsham. Al elu tihara grubashal in Sanhedrin. He said to the Barsham, for this small amount, this paltry amount of spoils that were taken illegally, you taken by Achen, you caused us to have killed in most of the Sanhedrin. The 36 men, like 36 men. The Tanya Shloisha V'Shisha Mamish. The Rebbe Yehuda says it was 36 men. Does it say 36? It says like 36-ish. It was talking about Yarsha Menashe. He was the one who was killed, and he was the equivalent of most of Sanhedrin. Amar of Nachman Amar Rav, my dechsev tachtonim yidaber rosh v'asher yana azis, a tachnunim, a rush, someone who's modest, will beg, and a usher will speak. A wealthy man will speak with arrogance. Tachnunim yidaber rosh zeh Moshe. Moshe was an anav, so he begged. He asked the Rebbe with humbleness. But Asher Yana Azaz zeh Yeshua. Yeshua demanded. My timer. Where do we see Yeshua demanded? Like we just said, that he took these spoils and he said to the bunch of them, how could you punish? How could you kill like Ruba of the Sanhedrin for this small amount of spoils? It's like tomorrow, no, that can't be. Pinchas also did this. It's the sieve. Pinchas stood up and he begged when there was a magefa because of the mice of Zimri that Pinchas killed Zimri because he was causing a magefa. But they also magefa, and it says after Pinchas threw down the bodies of Zimri and the person he was being born, he was mizana with, the Rebbe Shalom stopped the magefa. It doesn't say he was mispalal, but yipalal. The yipalal pilul is a lotion of judgment. He made a court case with the Rebbe Shalom. I mean, he deposited the bodies, the corpses of these two who were being over. This will cause 24,000 of Yidden to be killed of Siv. So you see that there is such a thing as going, like you know the famous stories about Abadicheva. He always used to bring the Rebbe Shalom to a Din Torah. They say, look how good you Yidden are. How could we have Chatsaris? So that's where this comes from. That's where there's a long tradition. Yeshua did it, and Pinchas did it even before him. That the person can go to the Rebbe Shalom and say how we don't deserve this, and you could say it with force. So how could Yeshua have been punished for throwing down the booty and arguing with the Rebbe Shalom about the einish that they got? So Sakti Gemara. That's because Yeshua said, why did you take the problem was that he said why did you take the Yidden into Eretz Yisrael when it looked like they were going to be destroyed when they lost an eye, and he said to Rebbe, why you bring us in and we're going to get killed? That can't be Moshe Nami Meimar. Moshe also made a similar argument. He said, why have you done bad to the Yidden? So it's not wrong for a leader to ask the Rebbe, why are you doing bad? It's coming from here. He says, the better we would have stayed in Ever Yarden. Should pick up and go. Right, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's the next thing. So it's the fact that he said it would have been better to speak in such a way to say it would have been better for us not to go into Israel. That was inappropriate. Okay, I think we'll stop over here because I want to give you time to get to davening. So we'll continue Be'ez Hashem, hopefully on Motzei Shabbos. Try to look for the messages because there's a possibility I might not be available right away on Motzei Shabbos. It might have to be a little bit later. Oh no,
so
tomorrow. I'm sorry, tomorrow Friday. No, so tomorrow will be 6:30. We'll do 6:30 tomorrow.
Okay.
I forgot what day I'm up to.
Yeah. Okay.